There have been a surplus of MMORPGs that have shut down over the course of the last few years, but that doesn't mean that there aren't still plenty of them out there for us to jump into and play. So this month I want to restart a series of videos that I did monthly last year. These videos are going to feature 7 free MMORPGs, games that have not been listed any other month in the course of the year, with the exception of like maybe 1 or 2 here and there. These are games that you may not have played. These are games that I urge you to take the time to invest into, and to try out if you're looking for something new. Now, real quick, before we jump into this video, I do want to let you guys know that I am doing a pretty big giveaway. I'm giving away 3 copies of any MMORPG you want: Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, The Elder Scrolls Online, New World, Destiny 2. There are 3 different methods of participation. The first, make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, because this giveaway is only for you guys, only for our viewers, and I am capable of seeing whether or not you are subscribed or not. So make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Then go down into the comment section below and leave a comment stating what you think the best free-to-play MMORPG is. I will go ahead and announce this winner 2 weeks from today when I go and post my top action MMORPGs of 2021 video. The second method of participation is to go on into the description in the pinned comment, click the link to our Twitch channel, and follow our Twitch. We stream 3 days a week, and we are going to be announcing the winner of the Twitch giveaway live on our Twitch channel, which admittedly we'll actually be streaming on over a few hours after this video goes live, so you're more than welcome to come on over and join us. And the third method of participation is to go on into the description and the pinned comment once again, click the link to MRSSSTIX's Twitter. Make sure to follow that Twitter. She actually posts a lot of really cool stuff if you want to go ahead and remain an active follower of hers, and she will go ahead and announce sometime in the next week or 2 the winner of her specific giveaway. That's it. It's that simple. Now, with that out of the way, hopefully I can take the next 10, maybe 15 minutes and expand the number of free MMORPGs that you've played. Maybe even help you go about finding something new to explore and to experience. First up is Guild Wars 2. I know I include this regularly in my top 10 videos, but that is because Guild Wars 2 is one of the best free MMOs out there. I did a video on it, I think it was about a month or 2 ago, where I went on to state that this is the best free MMO. It has almost more content than any other free game out there, and it is just of a substantially higher level of quality. Guild Wars 2 is a very narrative-driven game. There is a lot of story. There isn't nearly as much story as in a game like Star Wars: The Old Republic or Final Fantasy XIV, but there is enough story to keep you occupied for tens and tens of hours. There is enough lore, there is enough history, enough backstory in the entire world to probably keep you preoccupied indefinitely, and they are constantly expanding on the lore every single large patch they introduce into the game. Now, it is worth noting that Guild Wars 2 is actually releasing their brand new End of Dragons expansion later this year. That is going to introduce a surplus of new content, which means that there's going to be so much more for you to do. Now, the combat in Guild Wars 2 is something special. It's a unique hybrid between tab target and action combat. See, typically you don't necessarily require a target to use your abilities, with the exception of some abilities, which interestingly you do need a target for. But the majority, from what I've experienced, do not require a target, which means that it kind of tends to gravitate towards action combat, not full action combat like something like Terra or Black Desert Online, which is why I went ahead and said it was kind of like a unique hybrid of the two. Graphically, Guild Wars 2 has some very, very beautiful zones, although admittedly the character models are beginning to just a little bit show their age, and that makes sense. This game is going on a decade old, so you know, it stands to reason. But even so, this game is a very, very beautiful game. It is still better looking than the majority of MMOs out there. Now, I've never actively participated in the PvP. The few times I did, I got absolutely destroyed because the PvP system is actually very deep and very complex, and that is just something that I never really took the time to invest enough into, because honestly, like, if I want to play a PvP MMO, I will. And I know this might be the unpopular opinion, but if I want to PvP in an MMO, I will probably go on over to World of Warcraft, which isn't to say that it has better PvP than Guild Wars. It just has easier PvP for me to just jump on into and participate in without having to worry about going in depth into everything that makes my class viable in PvP. But if you're looking for a free MMO, and you have not played Guild Wars 2, or you are looking to play Guild Wars 2, or you are on the fence about whether or not you should invest in Guild Wars 2, just do it. It's worth it. Next up, we have Scarlet Blade. It has been a very, very long time since I did a video on Scarlet Blade. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I might go ahead here and actually stream Scarlet Blade over on our Twitch channel in the next couple months so I can get a gauge for how this game is doing currently in 2021. Now, granted, I do want to note that this is the Scarlet Blade Vendetta private server. And from what I've experienced over the last couple years, the game is completely safe. It is not going to shut down. Area Games initially shut the game down years ago, and there has been no issue keeping this server up and online since. And honestly, I feel like Scarlet Blade is one of the only MMOs of its kind. Yes, it utilizes a hybrid between action, combat, and tab target. It is predominantly a tab target MMO from what I played on my Whipper class, I think I was. I required a target for the majority of my skills, but not for all of them. So again, a unique little bit of hybridization between the two. Graphically, the character models are admittedly a little bit over the top, but I mean, that's what makes it so enjoyable. This is a game that has the most bizarre proportions on your character that you have ever seen. Like, you think the body proportions on Blade and Soul are a bit much? You need to get into Scarlet Blade and you need to see this for yourself. Now, I've probably invested about 30 or so odd hours into Scarlet Blade, and for the most part, this is a very traditional, somewhat generic MMO. You go from quest hub to quest hub, you take quests, and you complete the quest, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, the classes are unique. They have very unique play styles, very different play styles to what I'm used to. The character models are something else, and you, at a certain point, get the ability to turn into like some huge mech Gundam thing. But if you're looking for kind of like a fantasy sci-fi MMO that you have not invested any time into before, then I urge you to go ahead and try this one out, especially if you're interested in a certain type of culture. Next up is a personal favorite of mine. I urge you guys to, if you have not played Flyff, then go ahead and play it, because while this does look very dated, it is one of the few anime MMOs that have actually withstood the test of time. This is a game that has been online for, I don't know, like 15 years, 18 years, like almost more than half my life. This was one of the first anime MMOs that I ever played, and knowing that this is still online after all this time, that I can hop back into the game and I can play through it either from scratch or continuing from where I left out. Well, actually, wait, no, I want to go back a little bit there. For some reason, the publisher behind the game actually deletes your character if you don't log in for a certain period of time. I have lost characters on 2 separate occasions, having not logged in for a year period. So, you know, if you want to jump into Flyff, then I urge you to actually play through it on a regular basis until you're either bored or you hit endgame and find no purpose to log in anymore, because at that point you will likely lose your character and all of the progress that you have put into that character up until that point. Now, this is, or was at least, a very unique MMO when it was released because it actually had flight. This was a mechanic that I'd never seen before in a game. The first time I had ever experienced flight was in Flyff. I got a broomstick, I took off into the sky, and my mind was blown. Like, I did not ever think that I would encounter flight in an MMO, especially having come from top-down isometric MMOs like Tales of Pirates. Now, this game is one of only 2, I think, anime MMOs that are going to be included in this video. And let me tell you that this is one of the most traditional anime MMOs out there that you will find. Yes, it again does look very dated. Yes, it does use a tab target combat system, and that combat system also feels a little bit dated. But at the same time, this is a game that needs to be played before it disappears, like Twin Saga, like Eden Eternal, like Soul Worker, that have all been announced to be shutting down. Then we have Vindictus, which is definitely going to be in my top action MMORPGs of 2021 video. Why? because the combat in Vindictus is just that good. Despite how good this game looks, and let me tell you, this game looks absolutely incredible. The level of customization over your characters is one of the most popular aspects of this game. Like seriously, you will find very few games that have characters look as good as these characters do. But even beyond that, this game has what is arguably one of the 3 best action combat systems in the entire genre. See, not only is everything incredibly fast, incredibly flashy, incredibly fluid, that's the 3F trifecta right there, but this game allows you to go around and interact with your environment. You can pick up your enemies, you can crush them, you can use them as weapons themselves, you can pick up the weapons from other enemies, you can pick up pieces of rubble on the ground and launch them at enemies. Like, the sheer depth that this combat system allows, the number of things you can do is just, I feel like that is unparalleled in the genre. I am legitimately surprised that this has not been replicated since. Now, granted, Vindictus is in fact a hub MMO, and as such, you essentially exist within a hub and you take missions and then you deploy yourself along with a couple other players if you want to, and you complete the mission, which is either fighting waves of enemies or waves of enemies followed by a boss battle at the end of the instance, and that is essentially the entire game right there. So if those kinds of games do not interest you, then you'll probably want to take a pass on this one, but this is by far one of the better hub MMOs out there. Now, Granado Espada is one of the very few MMOs that utilize this specific type of combat system, this specific type of progression in a game. I was genuinely surprised the very first time I played this, because not only do you have several different characters that you get to control in the game at any given time, but it also utilizes a very interesting kind of cut-off combat system. I mean, you guys are watching it in the background right now, so you can no doubt see what kind of combat system it is, but this is just typically a combat system that isn't really used in any other MMO to date. It requires a certain level of strategy, which I guess, admittedly, if you know me, you would know that I do not often employ, which is maybe why I haven't invested nearly as much time into this game as I should have. But not just its combat, it allows for you to go about the world and actively recruit NPCs to add to your party. You can then level those NPCs, you can level those characters that are now yours, you can gear those characters. There is so much to do in this game, and yes, the game is a traditional MMO. It offers a variety of different zones that are admittedly all segregated from one another, but you get to freely explore the world, you level up, you fight monsters, bosses, do dungeons. Like, this is an MMO. It is not a hub MMO. It is not an instanced MMO. It is an actual full-fledged MMO. Now, Ragnarok Online is an old classic. I feel like almost everyone in the entire genre at this point has played this game. If you haven't, then yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You probably should go ahead right now and download this game so you can experience what it has to offer. And what it has to offer are a bajillion classes. Like, seriously, just take a minute and Google Ragnarok Online classes. The results are going to blow your mind. Like, you thought Black Desert had a lot of classes. You thought Tree of Savior with its, what, like 70 classes had a lot of classes. Pfft, you have never seen a game have as many classes as this game does. And the fact that this game is still continuing to be regularly updated, my God, I cannot begin to express the level of depth that this game went to with regards to its classes, providing classes that were unique, that utilized unique weapons and armor, that played differently, had their own skill sets, their own uses, and that this game is actually going on being 2 decades old, over 20 years old. Like, man, granted, this game has seen better days. Its population, its player base has dwindled substantially over the years, and there is only a fraction of its player base left, but there used to be millions of players playing this game back when it was relevant. I would love to see a day when a game like Ragnarok Online was relevant again, but I feel like its very arduous, repetitious grind probably attributed towards its very steady decline. And finally, we have MapleStory. I honestly do not include MapleStory in very many top videos because it is kind of a niche game. There aren't really many MMOs like MapleStory. I feel like maybe Grand Chase Grand Chase and probably Elsword are the only two MMOs that I can say are maybe graphically related to MapleStory, maybe even with regards to their gameplay. And that is because essentially what MapleStory is a side-scrolling two-dimensional, I want to say brawler, but it is in fact an MMO. It is a complete MMO. It has the freedom to explore the entire world, although to explore the world, you typically move horizontally, left or right. You can navigate vertically as well, and there are various different things on a variety of different levels to explore, but typically the way to move forward and progress through the world is to move horizontally. Now, I feel like MapleStory probably has what is arguably some of the best action combat in a 2D anime MMO. Like, you just take a minute here and look at this game and look at the combat, and then imagine it being 10 times better than that, because I think at my highest got to approximately level 100 or maybe level 150 on my character, and that was pushing it for a multitude of months. But the combat in this game was something else. It was something that I had never experienced before. Seeing my character, and I played multiple of them, mind you, but seeing my character literally fling around the screen as crazily as I did was almost more fun than I had ever had in an MMO up until that point. And this game is very narrative driven as well, at least up until a certain point. The narrative is very humorous. I feel like it doesn't really take itself seriously. There's some fourth wall breaking. There's just a lot of stupidity to it. And that is what kind of caught my attention. That is something that I don't typically see in MMOs either. The majority of MMOs are very dark, very serious in tone. But MapleStory, nope. It is one of the dumbest MMOs that I have ever played. And that fits my personality perfectly. Now, that is pretty much every MMO that I wanted to talk about this week. Make sure if you haven't already participated in the giveaway, then go right ahead and do so. Next month, I will be doing another video just like this, featuring hopefully 7 entirely different MMOs for you to go ahead and try out. Again, broadening your selection of MMOs that you've either played or that you are aware of, especially considering there are multiple games coming out this year and there are new players starting in the MMO genre every single day. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Someday soon, I'm gonna make